Hello everyone, welcome back to the Action RPG lessons. In lesson number 15, we'll give the player a permanent upgrade after they defeat the slime boss. We'll also look at global variables and how to use them for situations that span across the game. But first, let's take up the challenge lesson from last time. The first task was to create the slime enemy. Now he's going to function just like the bat, and we can copy and paste the information from the bat into the slime. The only changes we have to make are to the sprite, so I'll use the slime.png, and I'm going to make his speed 1. We also want to copy the loop over, and paste it in the loop. That's it for the slime already. He's done. The slime spawner is going to work just like the bat spawner, so we're going to copy that information over as well. We can keep using the cave PNG, that's fine. If you wish, you can change these to be slime direction and slime speed. Make sure you switch this to be 1 as well, because we want the slimes to have a speed of 1. And whether or not you use the random direction and random speed is up to you. But finally, we do need to have this final boolean called spawning. The slime spawners don't automatically start spawning enemies. They only spawn when they're triggered to. Once again, we need the loop. So I'll copy this over, and inside the slime spawner loop, I'm going to paste it. And we need to modify a few things. We need to make a new slime. And I'm going to call it new slime, just because it's more accurate. You could keep calling it new bat if you don't feel like changing it. And here we're setting a random direction. And since I changed it to say slime direction, I need to modify these to match. And same thing for the bat speed. It needs to be slime speed. And then finally, I'm not using new bat, I'm using new slime. And I need to use slime over here. So, wherever you see the word bat, you're basically just replacing it with slime. Just watch your capital S or lowercase s, depending on where you put it. You want to make sure that these variables are spelt the same as you spelt them in the start. Now, in order to use this spawning variable, we need to look back in the loop. And we only want to count up that spawn timer if self.spawning is equal to true. Otherwise, it won't happen, and we won't reach this if statement to create more slimes. Okay, that's the spawner setup. Let's actually add them to the boss room. We wanted to create 3 or 4 spawners. In my example, I created 4 of them, 2 on the right and 2 on the left. I'm going to keep to that pattern. So I scroll down here, and I'll make my first spawner. I'm going to just name it spawner 1, and it's going to be equal to a slime spawner. And spawner 1 is going to be at the top right of the bunch. So I'm going to set its x equal to 600, and I'm just going to keep its y at 0. I know it starts at 0, but I'm going to keep this line anyway, just to be consistent with the other ones. Because I'm going to copy this and paste it, but spawner 2 is going to have a y of negative 200. And once again, I'm going to copy this. Spawner 3 is going to have an x of negative 600. It's going to be on the left side. And it's going to be in between 1 and 2 on the y-axis. And spawner 4 is going to be below spawner 3. And it's going to have a y of negative 300. So I've got 4 spawners, 2 on the right side, 2 on the left side, and they're staggered like so. Now once again, they don't start spawning until I tell them to. I need to turn that spawning variable to true. We were going to do so inside the boss room loop. If the slime boss is damaged, we'll set the slime spawner's variables to true, otherwise they'll be false. So I'm going to get rid of that comment here. So I'm going to be checking if bossy dot state is equal to damaged. If so, I need to set all 4 of those spawners to start spawning. So spawner1 dot spawning equals true. And I'm just going to copy and paste this line 3 times, like so. And then just change the number so I get all 4 at once here. Otherwise, I don't care if the boss is waiting or moving or dead. I'm going to set all the spawners to stop spawning. So I'm going to change that to be false. And then I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to copy and paste this line 3 more times. And then just change the number to match. So let's test this out. If I go up to the boss and hit him with an arrow, the caves are going to start spawning slimes. As you can see, we need a bit more modification to make it work. I forgot to change these guys to go right, and they're spawning a bit too quickly. I'm going to add more time between the spawns. Let's go ahead and do that quickly. Spawner 1 and 2 are working just fine. It's spawner 3 and 4 that we need to modify. So I'm going to say spawner 3 dot slime direction equals right. And I'm going to use that same line for spawner 4. And as for the timer, that one's easy to fix as well. I'm just going to increase this to 200. Alright, so now let's look at how to upgrade the player when they defeat the boss. We're going to give them 3 options. Either they increase their max health, or they increase the damage from the sword or the bow. This lets players have a choice in how they progress through the game. In order to accomplish this, we're going to create another class. It's going to be similar to the temp text. We're going to call it upgrade text. Now in order to make this easy, I'm going to copy the code from the temp text, but I'm going to ignore the destroy timer. The upgrade text is going to stay on the screen until we make our choice. But instead of having one text, I'm going to split it into 3. So I'm going to call this choice 1, and I'm going to copy this code. And this is all going to be choice 2, and this is going to be choice 3. I'm going to increase the size of each one to 60, and I'm going to manually position them on the screen. They're going to show up in the middle. So they're all going to have an x of negative 100. Choice number 1 is going to be above the middle. Choice number 2 is going to be in the middle. And choice number 3 is going to be below the middle. As for the text itself, we're going to describe to the player which button to press for which upgrade. So we'll say press 1 to upgrade max health. For choice 2, we'll say press 2 to upgrade sword damage. And for choice number 3, we'll say press 3 to upgrade bow damage. So whenever we create an upgrade text, we're going to see these 3 choices show up. Now for each one, I'm going to set the Z equal to 2. That way it shows up on top of the player too. So I'm going to copy and paste this line as well. Now I'm going to create this inside the puzzle room just to test it out. I'm going to just name it test because it's a test. And I'm going to create an upgrade text. And let's take a look. Oh, I need to modify the X a little bit to make it move further to the left. I'll try negative 400 instead. Much better. Now we need to code the logic to make this actually happen. Now in order to make a choice for this upgrade text, we have to code that in the loop. But first, we need to do a little bit of setup in the game. At the beginning of the game, I'm going to create 3 variables. The first one is going to be called player max health, and it's going to equal 3. Next, we're going to say self.sword damage. That's going to equal 1. Finally, we're going to say self.bow damage, and that also equals 1. These are what we call global variables. They're inside the game, and every object in the game can access them. Much like how we access the hero when we want to do something in the rooms. What we want to do is use these variables in place of the straight numbers that we've used in the past. Let's start with the hero. We'll say self.hero.health equals self.playerMaxHealth. So at the beginning of the game, he still starts off with 3, but now we're using this variable. If we wanted to change his health at the beginning, all we would have to do now is change this to 5. And if I say play, I have 5 health here. As for the sword and bow damage, well, most of that is taking place inside the enemies. For instance, if the bat collides with a sword slash, we reduce his health by 1. Instead of 1, though, we're going to use that game.sword damage. Now at the beginning of the game, sword damage equals 1, so we're still causing the same amount of damage. But if we upgrade the sword damage later, this will take that into effect. Let's do the same thing for when the bat collides with the bow. We use the bow damage. You're going to want to copy these into each enemy. Now let's code the rest of that logic inside the upgrade text. All we have to do is check which button the player presses. If they press 1, that means they want to increase their max health. So let's increase the game.player max health by 1. Let's also give the player a little bit of a gift and restore him to full health. We'll say game.hero.health equals game.player max health. So whatever the max health is now, which would be 4 in our case, we'll restore the hero's health to 4. Now if we press the 1 key, that's it, we've made our choice. So we're going to destroy all 3 of our choice texts. So I'm going to copy and paste this line. So we destroy choices 1, 2, and 3, and then we'll go ahead and destroy the upgrade text itself as well. Now, for the other choices, we have to do something very similar. I'm going to copy this and paste it down below. And since I'm making a choice between 2 things, I'm going to use an else if. or elif. And this time I'm checking if they press 2. And if they press 2, we're going to increase the sword damage. So instead of player max health, we're changing the sword damage by 1. Now we don't need this line anymore, because we don't need to restore the player's health. We've just increased the sword damage. And regardless of our choice, we still want to get rid of all the choice text and the upgrade text itself. So I'm going to highlight all of this and copy and paste. And if I press 3, instead of increasing the sword damage, I'm increasing the bow damage. So if I press play to test this, well, first I'll test if I upgrade my max health. Yep, that worked. I've got 4 health now. Now let's see the sword damage. If I press 2, I need to go find an enemy to fight. And I'll wait for a bat to show up. And I was able to beat it in 1 hit. Even though the bat has 2 health, he died in 1 hit. So that means my sword damage is working properly. As for the bow damage, I just need to find a bat again. And if I hit a bat with 1 arrow, he's defeated. So, of course, we don't want to create this text inside the puzzle room. What we're going to do is only show it when we defeat the slime boss. So I'm going to remove this from the puzzle room and instead place it inside the slime boss. When the slime boss is defeated, I'm not going to print this message anymore, but I am going to create the upgrade text. I'm just going to name it upgrade, and it's equal to the upgrade text. Now, you might be wondering, well, if I go back into the boss room and I defeat him again, can I just get infinite upgrades? Well, currently the answer is yes. If you don't want that, we can change the boss room a little bit to make sure you can only defeat the boss once, and then he's gone forever. We can do that with another global variable. Inside the game, I'm going to add a boolean called slime boss defeated. And at the beginning of the game, it equals false. And inside the boss room, I'm going to check that variable before I create the boss. So right before here, I'm going to say if game.slimebossDefeated equals false, that's when I spawn the boss. And we want to set this to true when we actually beat the boss. So we go back into the slime boss loop, go back down to his dead state, and once he's defeated, we say game.slimebossDefeated equals true. Now to test this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just reduce the boss's health to 2, just so we can beat him pretty quickly. When he comes back, I'm going to shoot him with another arrow, and we should get that upgrade text. Alright. Oh, we're getting an error. So this error is a result of the challenge. Inside the boss room, we need to add another condition in here. Now when we destroy an object, we can't access any of its information anymore. It's gone. In order to make sure that doesn't happen, we can add an extra if statement here. So if game.slimebossDefeated is equal to false, and then space these all out so that they're part of that if statement. What we're doing here is making sure that the boss has not been defeated, and if so, that's when we check if he's been damaged or not. Now we set this equal to true when we defeat the boss, so everything works out. And back in the start, we only spawn the boss if he hasn't been defeated, and that works too. Now let's test this out again and see how our upgrade works. I'm going to hit him with one arrow and wait for him to come back. And there we go. If I press one of the buttons, I'm going to upgrade my health. That's it. It goes away. If I try to come back, the boss is not there. That brings us to the end of the Action RPG lessons. Congratulations on your functional game. If you want to share this with friends and family, I'll show you how. First, go back to your My Apps section, and in this drop-down, press Play. This brings you to your game, and the address at the top is the link you can send to anybody you like. If they open up that link, they'll be brought to the same screen you're seeing here. I do recommend setting up your game to start right at the beginning in the field, no sword, no bow, no ammo, and have the player figure stuff out. Thanks for sticking with this tutorial. I hope you enjoyed it. Keep on coding and make your game stellar. Until next time.